Pilots landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO classified. UFO classified. No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Good afternoon, good evening, my friends. I'm Erica Lukes. Always happy to be here on a Friday night and to get into chat and see people that are here supporting the show every week. I have had a flurry of emails and messages and phone calls this week with regard to the story that we are going to be presenting tonight, and I am really looking forward to the show. Make sure you get in there, ask questions. If you would like to call into the show, definitely give us a buzz, and I will be posting the number to that in just a brief moment. But first, I want to say that 2 weeks ago on this show, I had Philip Leech on the show, who was formerly the Indiana State Director. He worked on the national side of things with MUFON Media as an associate producer, developed Project Match, which is a joint effort between MUFON and NICAP, and also worked as a national director of the case review team. He came out expressing his concerns in a series of very candid emails that he released to the public about the inner circles and workings of MUFON, the day-to-day operations. He specifically targeted the MUFON executive director, Jan Harzan, the director of investigations, Chase Klutsky, and the director of media, Roger Marsh. It's been a story of information being held back from public consumption. Allegedly, MUFON could be making potentially illegal background checks into people at the very legal claims to this UFO organization. Questions have arisen about finances from television revenue. Things that were so shocking to Phil, he had the courage to stand up and be a fall guy for many inside the organization that also have serious questions about the dealings of MUFON headquarters. Since then, Philip has been fired from MUFON, and to me, this is a very, very serious story that needs to be brought out. Many of you know that I have my show, but other shows that I've been a guest on. I was a guest on 2 different shows this week. I've been vocal about my own personal experiences as MUFON State Director and then the aftermath of me resigning. But tonight I want to put on my radio hat and talk about this matter, this serious matter with Phil getting his story, because in the end, I know that both Phil and I are here because of you, the public. You are the ones being asked to report your sightings to MUFON and other groups. You are the one who wants information and sometimes identities protected, and you are the one who deserves answers. But as we get an update from Phil tonight, can we honestly say collectively that MUFON is working on behalf of our best interests? Those are things we'll talk about tonight with Phil. Phil, thank you for coming back for a second interview. I want to say you have raised some very important questions with all 4 of your emails, and you just recently put out the 4th and final email in this series. So how have things been going? And tell us what led up to this conclusion.
Hi, Erica. I'm glad you had me back on the show. Excuse me. Been outside too much. It's rather cold here in Indiana.
I've been hearing stories.
Yeah, it was a tornado yesterday, and it's going to be 0 in the morning, so it's Indiana weather. But Yeah, it has been busy when it comes to this, me releasing these letters and emails and phone calls and just, everything that goes along with that. So I had originally told Mr. Harzan that if there was some changes made, and we sat down and we discussed these changes, that I would actually write a letter stating those changes, kind of a conclusion type letter, putting a cap on it, I guess. I did not figure that everything was going to be solved. I did think some things could have been solved. So I do exactly as I say I'm going to do. So if I say I'm on, whatever, put another letter out, and there's another letter coming. Simple as that. Okay. So I had told him that, and I was going to stick to my word, and I did that. A week ago Friday, Mr. Harzan and Rob Switek called me. We had a conference call. And during that conference call, and we can go into that a little bit later, what was talked about there, they told me some of the things that they was going to do. So after that call, I told Jan, I said, okay, I will go ahead and write this letter. And out of professional courtesy is what it was. I actually sent this letter to Jan and Rob Switek so they would see it before I sent it out. Now, I didn't have to do that. It was more professional courtesy of the way things was going, and I wanted them to see that what we had talked about was exactly what was on that letter. Well, it was close to headquarters, I think maybe closing up for the day. So I had called Jan, said basically to tell him, read the letter, send your email, okay, rather than it sit there for 2-3 days or him miss it or something. And he actually said he was reading it right at that point. And he said, hold on a minute, hold on. And he read it probably, I don't know, 3-4 times. And he didn't care for some of the stuff that I'd put in there. Now, these are all things we had talked about. And I didn't embellish any of it, exactly as he told me. And a little bit later, he sends me an email. He actually edited my letter. He took out about 4 paragraphs, in his words, making it more concise. And the letter would have ended up basically me praising MUFON for, looking at these matters in a timely fashion, and thank you to the board, which I am thankful for them looking into this. But he actually took out, he wanted everything out of there that was going to be changed or pertaining, to the whole thing as it is. And he actually asked me if I could wait until, which would have been this last Monday, and release it then. And he wanted to call me before it was released. And I thought that was rather disrespectful, him editing my letter. It wasn't that bad. It didn't hurt anyone. So I went ahead and wrote, the letter stood as is. I actually added some more to it and then went ahead and released it from there.
And so for people that don't know about MUFON, they're the world's largest civilian UFO organization. If you're tuning in and don't have a clue, it is a nonprofit that is based in Irvine, California. And Rob Switek, who Phil was mentioning, is on the MUFON board of directors. And so you were interviewed by these people, and were you told by anybody in MUFON management that you were under review?
No. According to the board, both board members and Jan Harzan himself, there had been no complaints filed against me. I was not under review. Chase even thought she was under review, according to what Jan told me. Jan said no, Chase wasn't even under review. Well, what they was looking at was what was, itemized in my first letter and maybe my second letter. They was looking at these concerns and seeing what, if they was valid and what, how they could change something. As it goes, I had been, as soon as I released the letter, they demoted me from director of the case review team. Basically made me a field investigator in Indiana as a title, I guess. And we with very little access, which is fine, to the system. But I had sent a letter to Rob Switek and Jan both requesting I be reinstated because I didn't feel I did anything wrong when it come to pertaining to my job with the organization. I never did get a reply from that. So During the conference call a week ago Friday, Jan had told me that it was unanimous that I would not be returning to MUFON. I was no longer a member of MUFON. He actually asked me if I want to send me an email stating that, and I just told him no. It didn't matter at that point. They've actually took me clean out of the system. Really nice of them. Even a public system where you can go to the MUFON.com website and click on the most recent 20 cases that come in. I can't even do that. It says its user access is denied. So it took me clean out of the system.
For the benefit of humanity, right there. Wow.
Yeah, they've done others like that, though. I've talked to a few other people that they've done that. I don't know. I guess I can understand their train of thought with some of this, but a public access site, I couldn't harm that if I tried. And to be honest with you, the only way they can do that is to block your IP address that you're using. Just like plug your tower for a few minutes, plug it back in, you got a new IP address, and you can look at anything you want. So it's kind of useless on their part, but I guess they feel better about themselves.
Well, and that highlights really the unprofessional behavior as seen by some of the people in leadership positions, which is, again, we have talked about this before. We talked about it on the last show, but really, what is the benefit of MUFON? Are they truly doing this, and are they utilizing the scientific method? Not to what I can really see.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's a huge concern. I mean, I understand changing everything, all of my concerns. That is probably would take time at the best. Okay, some of them are easy to change. That would not be a problem at all. I think what I have, after sitting back and thinking about all of this, I think as a member, the MUFON membership alone should be questioning this entire thing. Not, all my concerns are very, very, some of those are very serious things, but just looking at a simple picture of what MUFON's, the logo that they use, the scientific study, UFOs, benefit of mankind. All these members are working hard doing these cases. We have MUFON has some very good people. They do. They're very good investigators. Some of them need more training. Some of them are just excellent in trainings. All of these things. But I think they need to sit back and look, because when all your information makes its way to the top, okay, to where it's valuable to the organization itself, they don't have the resources to do what they say they do with the scientific method. I don't believe that there is a scientific method that they can use. They don't have scientists on hand. Science Review Board no longer exists. I have a whole list of stuff that doesn't exist at this point. So I don't think they're representing themselves or what they claim their capabilities are to begin with, even to their own members. I'm not even talking about the public.
Right.
I think maybe they should answer some of those questions to their members. Can we do this, that, or in between? And a lot of those answers are no.
Well, I mean, absolutely. And I think, you've got people that are heads of this organization, and they are not promoting the scientific method. They're promoting belief systems, questionable belief systems, pseudoscience, lots of different things. And so I think, to me, it would seem that maybe MUFON is more of a social club than an organization that investigates things. And, we also have to put out there, in 50 years, what does MUFON have to show for the 50 years of scientific investigations? Nothing, to my knowledge.
Yeah, they're lacking in a few areas. I mean, they don't really put scientific white papers out where they've come up with conclusions. There's not a whole lot of those. I think it's 2017 when Director of Research Robert Powell resigned, and quite a few MUFON members, the ones that have been around for some time, very good at what they did, they all left. I think it really put a hurt on the entire operation. They still, to this day, don't have a director of research for MUFON, and that was back in, I think he left in June 2017. Now, if you look at their website, though, and Jan, if you're listening, this is about the 10th time I told you, Robert Powell's picture is still on your website as Director of Research, and I've been telling you for damn near 2 years to take that off of there. Science Review Board doesn't exist anymore. Most of those people quit. So you might want to take that off there. It's more misrepresentation of something that doesn't exist, that looks like you're claiming that you have that you don't. So if you're listening, have your IT guy take that off there as soon as you can.
I would say maybe half or 3/4 of the website, because when you look at it, there's some questions I have about that. But I want to, for me to hear you talk about what happened and the board was supposedly investigating, you end up getting quote unquote fired because you're asking, and you did ask questions behind the scenes repeatedly in attempts to get the executive director, Jan Harzan, and the director of investigations, Chase Klutsky, to answer some of these serious concerns that you had, and that wasn't done. And that's why you went out there publicly to address this issue and to see that, or to hear that Jan went in and tried to redo your ending statement, and that he actually expected you to just to go away and, okay, yes, thank you, move on. And I think, unfortunately, this has been the tactic that has been utilized time and time again, year after year, by MUFON leadership. And I want to just take a moment to read a little bit of a letter that was sent specifically to Jan Harzan. And this is just the last couple paragraphs. This, again, like I said, was 2 years ago. It says, I find that these constant investigations and in-house fighting is pathetic and not only makes the organization look weak, but displays an unorganized and childish face to the world, cradling the creations of pathological liars, not only cradling, but applauding is voice for concern. I have noticed several people leaving the organization, individuals who have been in the organization for decades. This is an issue I see due to the lack of leadership within micromanagement. I believe that having an obnoxious number of directors in every corner of research and having several different tyrants making homemade decisions will be the death of the Mutual UFO Network. This was given to Jan Harzan a couple years ago, and so we can see that there are very good examples of many people who have gone to Jan Harzan with concerns. I'm not sure if he passed those concerns on to the board of directors. I'm not sure if the board of directors would necessarily care about that. And looking at the way they handled your particular case, it is clear that they don't want to handle it, and they're not going to make any real substantial change.
Yeah, I don't think they are. I mean, maybe we can go over that conclusion letter a little bit. Maybe that would help your listeners understand some of the things that they was going to change, or maybe they are changing, I guess. And a lot of it they just basically didn't give me an answer for. And I really didn't expect them to be honest with you. I used to think the board of directors maybe had the final say, and maybe I didn't know better, but the end result is Jan Harzan has the final say. The board of directors, I believe, advises him of any findings that they have. I can't blame the board of directors necessarily for some of these things that's going on. I honestly believe they didn't know, at least some of them. Okay. So, it would be hard for me to say those guys was, that group there was involved, in behind the scenes things. I think a lot of this is just ran by Jan, Chase, and, their little close little group they have. Board of directors, when I first spoke with both of them, we had a conference call, my first talk with them. Hell, they didn't even know that we didn't have a star team. They kept, I actually went back and listened to that conversation today, and they did ask me, I think there was some surprise that MUFON did not have a star team, and I think I told them 3 or 4 different times, hadn't been a star team case in years. So I think that was, so I don't think they know everything that's going on. maybe it's not their job to know everything that's going on. Unless it's financial, possibly, or something like that.
I would definitely say that yes. I mean, the board of directors does they do provide important things, and they also should be looking at the actions or inactions of people in leadership positions, especially when there are very serious complaints and allegations of people being sexually harassed, of people being bullied, of people who are being threatened to have security clearances revoked. And I want to just say that I've had several emails from people making these allegations, and if that is in fact the case, that certain people are using their spouse's military clearance or old military clearance to threaten and bully people, then that could be a crime. Actually, it is, because
I actually have that email. I have a copy of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did talk.
That was surprising to me. There was certain sections of that, and I ain't gonna mention any names that's in there. I know it was sent from Chase. But I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, she made some accusations. She did, she made some, as far as I'm concerned, threats. Telling these individuals, they're going to get their termination papers in the mail, and their CMS access is going to be revoked immediately. And one minute she was Mrs. MUFON, and the next minute it was her and her husband that was speaking at the end of the email. It's a little confusing. So she was speaking in two different directions there in one email, but that was a little surprising, really unprofessional, to say the least.
Well, and I more than unprofessional, and I think that this is from the different emails that I've received, not just over the past few weeks, but for a long time. It is really disturbing that people are using their positions to intimidate, threaten people with teams of lawyers, but specifically using the we're going to revoke security clearances, or we are going to, more than that. When you do that and you make threats, what you're doing is it's illegal. Let's just put it that way. And to involve somebody in the military or ex-military, you could definitely be in a world of hurt. And yeah. I spent this week, I talked to people in different branches of the military. I talked to someone in Homeland Security. This is pretty serious, and MUFON better address these things. I'm Erica Lutz here with Phil Leech. You know that the best is yet to come, so stick around.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Urgent. Hello, KCOR listeners. Lori and Fenton here. Hey, are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon March 24th through 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only conference you need to attend this year. Check it out at UFOMegaCon.com.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
Toxins are everywhere, from the air we breathe to the food we eat and the water we drink. In a world where 80,000 known toxins and heavy metals threaten our very existence, how are you going to protect yourself and your loved ones? Introducing Pure Body Extra Strength, the world's first colloidal zeolite that helps trap and remove toxins as well as heavy metals from your body that are messing with your memory, clarity, sleep, and focus. Don't just take our word for it, or the testimonials from our thousands of happy customers. Check out the hundreds of articles and case studies on the National Institute of Health website proving bringing zeolite's powerful ability to remove toxins. For a limited time, listeners to KCOR will receive 10% off their first order. To get started, go to trypurebody.com and enter promo code RADIO10. Again, that's trypurebody.com. Toxic junk is all around us, but now you can take back control of your health and protect yourself by detoxing with Pure Body Extra Strength. You'll be on your way to sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and feeling more energetic. Go to trypurebody.com right now and get started today.
Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Jump onto the Celestial Highway and travel at the speed of light. Into hyperspace. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. She navigates you through the cosmic tides of mysticism into the world of covert technology, UFOs, mystical sciences, and the world of unforeseen forces.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Listen live, Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, for Hyperspace, the one show that blows the whistle off our government black ops projects. Hyperspace, hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Want to take a ride?
Are you ready to go? Turn your radio. It's showtime! You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Bring this up.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
The base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
You're listening to UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts!
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back, and I am happy to see such an active chat room tonight. My goodness, we have Steve Hudgens, who is the International Director of MUFON, in there, and a lot of other people who are engaging in a good conversation. I am here with Phil Leech, who a few weeks ago released his first article, MUFON, The Inside Story. And after trying to work underneath Jan Harzan, the Executive Director of MUFON, and Chase Kletsky, the DOI, and Roger Marsh, he had serious questions about background checks on witnesses, about certain people, field investigators, state directors, who were putting in all of the prescription medications of an individual and the side effects, and also the fact that the cases were going to these secret teams, nothing was being released. And it's been very curious, and I think all of these questions are questions that we've had out here for a long time, and they deserve to be addressed. I applaud Philip Leech for doing this. It's been quite fun, I'm sure, for him for the past few weeks. He did try to very eloquently work with Jan to get answers, and to work and talk with the MUFON Board of Directors in hopes to make change, because at the end of the day, Phil was very genuine with his concern and wanting to make MUFON a better organization, as many of those were when they resigned, and there have been a lot of resignations. We've got 4 in the past 2 weeks. So MUFON is clearly hurting. His last letter was in this series, was released. It's called MUFON, The Inside Story, The Conclusion. They're on UFOclassified.com if you want to read all of them. But this is something that we're going to talk about now. So Phil, welcome back to the show, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Erica. Glad to be here.
Yes, and so you released this final conclusion, and you had at first sent a draft to Jan Harzan, and he didn't like what you were putting in there. Was it because it could perhaps implicate MUFON? What were your thoughts on why he didn't want to include
He didn't
the
want to
things you put?
upset his members. Actually told me that on the phone. I think when I was speaking with him and Rob Switek in the conference call about, how this was going to end with those, how this ended. And he actually had read, no, I'm sorry, I'm telling you wrong. That actually after he read it, he called me, we spoke, and then he said he wanted to edit those out there. I said, why? And he said, well, I don't want some of these members, my people, it's upset. I said, well, Jan, I was a member at one time. I'm upset now. So the part about the reorganization, there's a section in there about that, and that was discussed. We did discuss that, and they always ask me my opinion. I'm sure it's a business tactic, what would make you happy type thing. They ask me numerous questions, sometimes the same question, Jan called me up one day, and believe it or not, throughout this entire thing, me and Jan, we have had conversations, whether by email or just on the phone, mostly on the phone, I guess. But we do have conversations. I have emailed him a couple times, some good advice, logical type stuff, okay? Trying to work this out to some extent. One conversation I had with Jan, he asked me numerous things. What would make me happy? And I told him what would make me happy. I was pretty logical about the whole thing. And then he started asking me things like, he's thinking about getting rid of MUFON International. He actually asked me that. And of course, my response was, well, what are you talking about? And he said, well, I'm thinking about getting rid of MUFON International. And I said, no, that would be a terrible mistake. I said, that's a whole different animal over on that side of the field there. That's ran differently. Mr. Hudgens was doing a fine job with what he's able to work with over there. I know he actually has a lot on his plate, believe it or not. I wouldn't have his job, but that totally different animal. And actually, after that question, and we hung up, I thought about it a little bit. And why would he even cross his mind to say something like that? My biggest fear then at that point was that by doing that, I don't know if what position Steve would take, maybe they still stay DOI and MUFON in general, but if that wasn't the case, that would put Chase over the entire thing. That was a concern at that point, a big concern why that would be. Jan asked me, I think 2 or 3 different times, should he fire Chase? Which I still don't know why he's asking me that question, okay? But he did. He asked me, should he fire Chase? Believe it or not, you'll find this strange. My answer was no. I said, no, I don't think I would. I think I would take away some of the responsibility because it's just overwhelming what one person would have to go through to try to run an organization like that, because there's a lot of moving parts. My idea was make her do her job. If she wants to be a director of investigations, make her do exactly that. Be over investigations over each state, the membership, make sure the cases are done, not just wrote off and, no one spoke with and all those types of things. Make her do what her job title says it is. But get her away from, that much responsibility. Because it could be overwhelming and it could create you to where you would, you're in charge of everything. So, once you believe that, then you're going to start acting that way. And unfortunately, that's what I seen coming. That's what was happening.
And so, what were your interactions like with Chase? I mean, I know that you've raised some concerns in the past show and in some of the letters about perhaps the way that she chooses to deal with relationships and people in the organization. Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, typical forceful individual. I mean, she's very nice. Don't get me wrong. She talks very nice. She's very upbeat, energetic, go team go type person. Okay. And maybe that works in some fields. I'm not so sure it works in this one necessarily. I only know about some of the things that went on when it comes to state directors and, people that hold some type of rank in MUFON, I guess. I didn't hear much about members necessarily. If you got along with her, you was fine. So if you didn't get along with her, you had problems. She would go after someone. That would not be. There's no doubt in my mind that she would go out of her way. I spoke with past MUFON members I know personally, and where she was involved in one way or another getting that person into some form of trouble and actually getting several removed as state directors. So she always she has her hands in a lot of things, plays in the background quite a bit. So that's just my take on this.
Well, and you have mentioned that her stepping in, allegedly to try to thwart maybe some speaking engagements or media engagements or media interactions because she didn't like a person. I mean, can you give us a little more clarification on some of the things that you saw that she might have done in this regard?
I had my concerns I voiced about the media side of things with the television shows and this and that. And Roger and her have that pretty well wrapped up when it comes to how that's going to play out. Roger claimed he chose Chase as the lead actress for some of these things. And, she was supposed to pick one other person from the MUFON team, which she chose Robert Spearing. I don't know if that's good or bad. I have no comment on that, but I know there's other people in MUFON that was available, and the way it sounded to me, there was like 4 different TV channels that, was wanting shows from, UFO related shows. So, I think there's plenty of work to go around. I do know she spoke about you a few times. You're not her favorite person. I don't know if you know that or not.
I never would have guessed that. Yeah.
Never would have guessed that. Yeah. I think one conversation I had with her, she was telling me about, and forgive me because I didn't keep up with all that nonsense at the time, but it must have been maybe Hangar 1. I don't know. You was on the first season.
Yeah. UFOs, the lost evidence. Yeah.
That's what it was. That's right. And you was on the first season, and she had a lot to do with you not being on the second season. She actually told me that. She was rather proud of herself, actually. So somewhere she worked. I don't know how that came about. I just know what she told me, that made sure you wasn't on the second season. And she has her hands in a lot of things.
And to me, it's. I know personally, I would never do that to somebody. I would, especially being a woman, want to support other women in the field. And I'm always telling people, you need to get this person on the show or do this or that. And so to me, to act like that is really, it's a foreign thing. And for somebody who began to deal with her wrath when I was in MUFON and have Roger and Jan and people like that, take that and run with it to discredit me. That was very painful. But to hear that she has done this repeatedly with other people, and these are, when somebody is interfering with a person's livelihood, that is grounds for a legal case. And I don't know if she realizes that. So
maybe, it might be hard to prove with something like that. I can tell you this much, okay? I can promise you this much, that if any one of them, anybody decides to go public and let's say, I'm going to use the words, do something silly, I'm going to back up every single thing I said in any letter, any conversation, with emails and transcripts. And I'll put it right out there for everybody to see. It make these first letters look silly. Okay. There will not be any getting out of that. Now, is there legal ramifications from that? Not transcripts, not emails. Those belong to me. They were sent to me. So I'm not too concerned with it. And even if there is, it's called vicarious liability. If anybody decides to do something like that, and I don't like it, vicarious liability means that you attach that person and the person above them and whatever organization they belong to, and all the way up the line, and everyone gets attached to a vicarious liability case. So I'm not really concerned if they want to play that game and play that route and try to discredit. I'm stating facts here. I could pass a polygraph right now. I'm not making anything up. These are all things. They're at least let me say this. I've heard this from Jan and a few people. Well, you don't fully have the full picture. I don't have a problem with that statement at all. Period. What I do know is that what I've stated is based upon what Jan has told me, what Chase has told me, what Roger has told me in conversations and emails. If it isn't correct, they were manipulating the entire thing and trying to manipulate me. So if it is incorrect, which I have I have those documents. If it's incorrect, it's because they did it, not me. Okay, they fired me out of MUFON because I went public. I understand that to some extent. However, I went to Jan, I went to Chase. They're claim. I imagine they're going to claim I didn't go through the proper channels. And believe it or not, Steve Hudgens is over, professional ethics. I should have filed a claim with him. Got a board, got them looking at it and all this, but. Coming to find out at the end of all this, the board only advises Jan. Jan has the final say. So I did go to the right person that could have made these decisions and stopped some of these things. One of the things discussed when Rob Switek and Jan called me a week ago Friday in a conversation about how this all ends was the background checks. A big concern of mine. It had been from day one. I threw a fit and tried and basically was ignored. I mean, of course they say, well, I'll take care of it. And, nothing ever happened. I'll bet it happened now. I bet those reports been cleaned up, But anyway, I asked, Jan said, well, when concerning the background checks, I said, yeah, tell me about those. And he said, well, we spoke with the attorney. And I'm assuming it's MUFON's attorney. He didn't say that, but the attorney. And the attorney says that background checks are legal and they can do them. And I said, okay. And Jan said, by putting the medications with the side effects on the reports, if the witness supplies that information, it's legal to put that information in that report. And that was their stance on the whole thing. Of course, I said, well, is there not a moral side to any of this? I understand being careful in today's world with, there is some crazy people out there, unfortunately, and you need to be cautious.
Right.
But I think good training keeps you safe. We all know that, if you have those types of jobs in the past, training will keep you alive. So a little better training maybe or something is what's needed. But the real problem is that the cases that I brought up, there was 3 in particular. Those cases in particular was closed because of the background check. They did not speak with the witness. They didn't even attempt to contact the witness. Now, I'm not sure you couldn't do that on a telephone, and still remain safe. But those cases was closed on the basis of the findings of a background check. One case was closed because the guy didn't have a valid driver's license. Now, to me, that bothers me. There's safe ways to do these cases, and a phone call is not going to hurt, or an email. You could send an email. I mean, something. But that was their decision. They're legal, and any information that a witness supplies can be put on the report. And I know that I've personally investigated quite a few cases, and I've had witnesses share very intimate things about their case. And I can tell you, I didn't type each and every single word that they told me in that report. It wasn't needed to make a determination on that particular report. Some of them conversations were an hour and a half long, some of these interviews. Those reports would be massive if I typed all this stuff, these personal things. wasn't needed for the report, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and the list of medications, and I mean that is just beyond unbelievable. And I think too, a good point to bring up is the MUFON database really isn't secure, because there are allegedly people getting into the database that aren't even involved as a field investigator or state director. And that's concerning.
Well, I mean, they've tried to crack down on that. I mean, I've been part of that myself, at one point, a few years ago, looking at people who should not be in the system. Is it foolproof? No, I guarantee it's not foolproof. I mean, it's pretty much as simple as if your next door neighbor is state director, and he wants to show you what's in the system, I suppose you can just walk over to his house and look what's in there. I mean, is it secure? No, it's not. You have all these foreign countries that you're not even allowed to email or give a phone call to. I mean, they run themselves, right? Their own little franchise. Who knows what they're doing? I mean, I'm not even sure they could answer that question.
Right. And who are these? I mean, that could be a lot of places that this data is getting funneled outside of the United States, which is interesting.
I've talked with people recently, because of all this, and this has been one of the concerns about data in the system and it leaking out in some way, or the government infiltrating MUFON and getting the data. I got news for you. It would be beyond easy. Okay, they wouldn't have to pay for it. They could easily find a way to get in there and get this. The end result, though, that's what is amusing to me. Everyone thinks that there's all these cases in there that's worth something. There's a few good cases. Don't get me wrong, but on the most part, I would have no problem handing the biggest part of that over to anyone. I mean, not the names and addresses, phone numbers, but the case itself, because there's just nothing there. They're very good witnesses. Okay, very good witnesses. Do I believe something happened? Yes, I do believe something happened. But is there extensive reports done on these things? No, there's not. I mean, on most occasions, there's not.
But I mean, I think the interesting thing with the CMS is, I mean, you can identify patterns. I mean, there are, it could be useful, even though once the MUFON field investigator gets in there and investigates it, the data is probably next to worthless. But the initial maybe sightings reports. What is your take on some of the cases? I know specifically there was a really important case. This was a few years ago, and the case was investigated for 6 months by MUFON field investigators who went out to this person's home, trace evidence, all of these things. And interestingly enough, when I went in there to try to learn something about this case, the case was on TV, the Chris Bledsoe case. It was interesting to me to see that there were only 2 paragraphs in there after a 6-month investigation with countless video interviews, with countless phone conversations, trace evidence, all of this stuff. And it's like, where did this go? And I did ask Norm Gagnon, who's been on my show. He was one of the first investigators. He was the first investigator involved in this case and does excellent work. And he got in there to look at the case and was absolutely shocked to see that most of the case had gone. And I think that, this is something Elaine Douglas tried to bring out to the public, that, cases were being deleted or hidden, different things. And so there's some dirty dealings, I believe, going on behind the scenes with the data. And now that we've got these top secret teams, and they're getting the cases, and the state directors, the field investigators don't get to see them. I mean, what's going on here? Is this really for the benefit of mankind?
No, no, that's not that's for the benefit of a few. I understand important cases, understand keeping witnesses' identity as secure as possible. For instance, I had a top case for 2015. but I work myself. I still work with that individual today, the Department of Defense contractor. My report in the CMS system is 55 pages long. Probably one of the largest reports in that system. I mean, I'm sure there's some big ones in there, but it's a pretty healthy report. Me and Robert Powell actually worked on that case.
And that's an
we was
excellent
able
case.
To keep that witness's name and everything secured, and just me and him know who that witness is to this day. Okay. I think the problem is they don't know who to trust. I guess MUFON has more than capable individuals of doing these types of cases and keep them safe and secure, and still having case report information in the system. Okay. Not that difficult to do. I did it. Okay. It was a nightmare, to be honest with you, but I did it. Okay. I think I don't know whether it's trust or they just don't think it's capable. I'm not sure what that reason is. Right now, my best guess is that the SAT team exists. Jan told me he designed the SAT team himself. It was his idea. And I believe him since he told me that. I have no reason not to. The SAT team was designed for cases that come into MUFON that are not your typical cases. Now, this would be a opening in the sky or a Bigfoot or not your nuts and bolts light in the sky or UFO type case. All right, just something unusual. And then I said,
I hear that music,
Jan,
and I've got to interrupt you right there because I can hear the music, and we're getting ready to take our big break. Okay. But we will talk about SAT team cases when we get back. I'm Erica Lukes here with Phil Leech. You can go to UFOclassified.com to read the 4 articles Phil has put out there. Stick around. The best is yet to come. And remember that we've got phone lines, so go to our website and call in. We'll be back.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Welcome back to the second half of a very enlightening evening. I'm Erica Lukes, and as always, I appreciate everybody in chat. I want to give a big thanks to Northern UFOs for always posting my show on YouTube. I am planning on doing some new things with regard to getting the word out about the show and good research, so I will keep you updated on that. I want to thank people in and out of MUFON for joining me in chat. And also, I want to give a shout out to those in MUFON leadership who are most definitely listening to the show tonight. I would like to invite all of you to come on the show to express your point of view. We would all be interested in that. I know that Dave Scott has invited Jan Harzan on the show and different people. And so hopefully that will come out and we can hear from MUFON leadership. But I am here with somebody, Phil Leech, who, in my opinion, is a true hero. and a true whistleblower in the definition of the word. And he, for a long time, was working right under Jan and Chase and Roger Marsh, and asked questions repeatedly to these three people, and never got a resolution to some serious problems that he was presenting. So he released a series of 4 letters. The final letter is MUFON, the Inside Story, the conclusion. You can find that on UFOclassified.com and read through this. But, I have to say, Phil, thank you for your courage to step up. And I want to just throw this out there that I think people who have dealt with this situation, and there are a lot of people out there, as we know, they have an obligation to come forward, because there are a lot of cases where the same types of patterns are happening, the same types of things, the same types of abuse as evidence with the same people over and over and over, and the same lack of response from Jan Harzan. And so I commend you for doing that, and encourage other people to come forward so we can all do this together. Phil, thank you so much. And so there were, what other points with regard to your conclusion would you like to address?
I think one of the most concerning ones out of all that, really the part about, we were having discussion about, one person having too much responsibility, leadership type stuff. And we was talking about, quite a bit. And Jan actually told me he had to back Chase no matter what. That was very concerning to me. They're volunteer. Chase isn't a paid employee, as far as I know. That statement alone told me that no matter what I was saying, or who else says anything, I guess in his mind he believes he has to back one individual when he clearly knows. And me and him had these conversations over and over, and I'd send emails to him, and he has to see what's going on. I know he does. And why he's letting it happen is beyond me. I do not know. For a businessman, I think you come out of IBM as a businessman. First thing you do is you put all your chess pieces in the right place. And then it's called a corporate takeover. So, I was warning Jan, listen, these things are happening right underneath your nose. You have to be able to see how these are being positioned, the right people in the right places, and all the yes people, okay? And one little problem comes up, it's not going to be my job to be in danger. It would have been Jan's job that would have been in danger. But him stating that he had to back Chase no matter what, that was really surprising to me. I think he could have made some changes, and maybe he is. Maybe they're making changes that we're not aware of, I guess. That, they haven't said what these changes are, at least publicly. I hope they are. I hope they're thinking about this. One of the things I put in my final letter was, Jan had told me that one of the things he was going to do with the special assignment team. Now, believe it or not, the board members, when we had a conversation, they wasn't even sure we should have a special assignment team. They didn't understand the reasoning for having it. And I'm sure they have that figured out by now. But it's Jan said that they're going to start putting the special assignment team cases. Now, these are those cases that no one can see. They're on a website. That you have to belong to the SAT team to view these cases. And I don't think there's a lot of them. I don't think there's 5,000 cases in there is what I'm trying to say. But they're going to start posting some of these cases, if not all. Hell, we'll never know, on MUFON.com. So it's more public. They'll probably put some very limited information on there. Again, you still have a team that's capable of keeping cases to themselves.
Well, like the whole database. That's the thing, that since Jan Harzan has taken over the organization, you've found that there have been more and more attempts to, you have to be a member if you want to go past 20 cases. It's not like New Fork where you can go in there and search the whole database. It's, if you want to look at the white papers, I'm sure that's a good one.
Gotta be a member.
Yeah, you've got to be a member, and it's like.
I was looking up those prices. I haven't really looked in some time. It was like shocking to me how much. I think the for first year was like, if you want to be a basic member, it was like $60. And then to be I forget what word, enhanced member, it was $100 and some. And if you wanted to be a VIP, it's $300. This is not you being a field investigator. This is you getting a journal and a T-shirt. Okay. And special privileges, get to eat breakfast with Dan Harzan at the symposiums and things like this. But some of the prices is kind of outrageous, I thought. They might want to lower those. I don't know. Might get your membership up a little. They claim they got 4,000 members. Maybe. I know they've lost field investigators left and right over the last previous years. And at one time we had 800. They probably got 280 now, 300 top. I don't know, somewhere in that area.
Well, they have so much respect for them.
A lot of people.
I mean, you've got people like Robert Powell, Morgan Bell. I mean, you've got people that did a lot of work for the organization that have resigned. I mean, but they don't care, and that's been the sad thing to me. I mean, historically, you can have people, and this has been going on for a long, long time. People can resign, and then headquarters will just make up a story about it, and then they'll find somebody new and young and willing to play the games until they get wind of what's really taking place, and then they'll go away, and then somebody else will pop up, and so it's this constant manipulation of people. But I want to say, I'm looking at the MUFON website right now, and it here, after what do we know after 50 years of a scientific investigation? UFOs are real and represent advanced technology not from any country on Earth. Okay, where's the proof? Nothing's been put forward to the public. We're not alone in the universe. We never have been. Show us the proof. According to the data we collect, our universe is teeming with life. Those are awfully bold statements.
That's a bold statement.
It is a really bold statement. This life may be from many places and exist in many forms, such as somewhere in our known universe, other universes we can't see, interdimensional beings, times and space, species indigenous to the planet, time travelers, angels and demons, some other explanation, ... The important thing is...
You said angels and demons?
Oh, of course. And as we know, that seems to be...
I can tell you right now, there ain't a field investigator trained by the field investigator manual. That's not in there. Okay? There's no training for that little section right there. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But unfortunately, I think there are a lot of people in the organization that use belief systems instead of the scientific method. We know that. And then it finishes saying the important thing is the UFO phenomena is worthy of scientific study because tremendous breakthroughs will result if we allow our scientists and engineers to do so without fear of ridicule. Breakthroughs in science and technology, to name a few, the future of mankind depends on it. So join MUFON and help the future happen today. Well,
they need to start putting papers out somewhere.
I mean, seriously, 50 years, that's what you've got? And then they're still reeling people in. I mean, I don't know what, I don't know. And
I was going to tell you, we was talking about the SAT team earlier.
Yes, thank you.
I mean, I've thought this for some time. The SAT team, I understand the purpose of keeping witnesses' identity very secure, especially high-profile people. Okay, I got no problem with that whatsoever. Go to every length you have to do that. But if you think about it, I think it just goes to show you how secure the CMS system is, where they actually had to go create another website for their particular team to keep cases on because they couldn't keep it on the CMS system. I think that's proof alone right there how secure the CMS system is. They could have put basic case information in CMS and left it there and not filled in the blanks. Okay, they could have used John Smith over a name or anything like that and still did their job the way the rest of everyone else does their job in MUFON. They created that team for themselves, and I think it's for fame and fortune in the end. You don't get 8 journal covers out of 12 last year that came from the SAT team. with 6,000, 7,000 cases that come into MUFON, and they just got lucky at 8 out of 12. Those odds are terrible.
It is interesting. I want to just read a little something that I found in Wikipedia about science and organizations, and it says that the scientific organization is organized and operated in the public interest. More explicitly, the organization must conduct scientific research activities that will benefit the public rather than the private, business, or other interests. Public interest can be demonstrated if the results of the research are available to the public on a non-discriminatory basis, or the research is performed for the federal government or state agency. And so, I really have to call people. People need to look into the background, the inner workings, and decide how this.
MUFON is lacking in so many areas, and the scientific part of it is one of those areas. And I actually went to Jan and I said, hey, Robert Powell and Rich Hoffman and Morgan Bill and some of them guys had started the SCU group, Scientific Coalition for Ufology. And I went to Jan, I called him, I said, hey, listen. I said, now this was after I got NICAP and MUFON working together, which was great stuff, okay? I said, hey, let's do the same with SCU. And I know there's hard feelings all the way around, but it was worth the conversation, at least between me and Jan. I said, let's look at SCU as a scientific organization, because, they got like 40 members. Most of them have PhDs. I mean, they're all, scientists and all kinds of degrees. But I said, can we use them? And they use us all at the same time. Okay. We could present them with stuff and they could look it over and scientifically see if there's anything there. That didn't go very far, by the way. They wasn't going to have no part of that. But the skill level, when it comes to science end of things, in my opinion, and I guess it's just my own opinion, SCU is probably set up right now best to look at UFO cases. They don't take reports. Okay, they might take a phone call. You have something of interest, but they have a Facebook site and they have a website that you can go to. But I might as well plug for them too. I think when is it? March 15th through the 17th, they're actually holding their first symposium in Huntsville, Alabama. You can go to their website and look for that. And that's going to be one good symposium. They have quite a few speakers, and no media is allowed. It's going to be more organized, I think. It's really going to be a good symposium. So if your listeners are interested in something like that, it might be something they could go to if you live down that way.
Right. No, I will post the links, and I think that it's a great thing, and it is refreshing to see people in America addressing this and wanting to do it correctly.
Well, these are all MUFON people. These are right. A lot of them are ex-MUFON people. Right. MUFON had this. They had the science review. Robert Powell started Science Review Board in 2012, and I don't remember how many people he had in it. Okay, maybe 6 or 7 people, if that many. I don't know. But they would spend hours combing through cases each month, and then they would all get together in a conference call and they go over all these cases, trying to see if was there evidence there, was any value to these cases. And believe it or not, this is a true story. Some time ago, I was speaking with Robert Powell, and I remember him telling me that when the Science Review Board was first started, there was a huge internal fight in MUFON. That fight was over the Science Review Board and the Board of Directors. The Board of Directors actually thought the Science Review Board that Robert started was trying to take MUFON over in some aspect. So there was a lot of chatter back and forth. There were, which is kind of strange because it's a science-based team that's working for MUFON. Ain't that what they stand for to begin with? I think the fact of the matter was that after looking at all the data and crunching the numbers, they could see some problem areas where they need to improve their statistics and their percentages, and maybe that upset them. Okay. Because they really can't use their statistics in any way, shape, or form. They're just not even correct. But there was a big fight over that, and that they're fighting with people as trying to do science for MUFON.
Well, I think that the sad state of affairs is obviously there are a handful of people making a good income. Roger Marsh, Jen Harzan, and I. How can you rock the boat? And then you've also got people that are very insecure and are probably looking for any way that they can. Clearly, from what you've told me, that happened to me with the TV show. They're trying to push people out of the way to get more popularity, and I don't get it. I mean, to me, this and not to mention the other things that I mentioned. One of which I thought was very important was the fact that this certain individual will befriend people and then get information and then use that against the person. And to me, it's just like when you have repeated reports and repeated letters that are specifically sent to Jan Harzan. The board of directors knows nothing about it. Jan Harzan is not willing to be a good leader and deal with it. I mean, you've got a problem here. And then we throw in the fact that MUFON is clearly not what they say they are. There is no science involved in this organization. It is all a social club designed to make money for a handful of people and to obviously give a platform to state directors that have belief systems that aren't based in science. I mean, what's going on? And when are the rest of the people involved in this going to wake up?
I don't know. I put quite a bit of information out there with my letters, and you can see how far that got me. I'm not saying that I lost this because, I wrote a final conclusion letter to the series of letters that I wrote. That's all I've done. That's it right there. Exactly what I said I was going to do. Is it over? I guess that depends on them. It depends on their decision making. It depends on what, how they want to pursue this, or if they decide they want to become rather nasty about things. That's in their ball field right now. Currently, all I did was write some letters. I'm more than willing to stick that proof out there if needed to back up things that I've said. Don't want to do that necessarily, but I will.
Right, and that's important. I mean, there are a lot of people that I've talked to, and I'm sure that you have talked to, that have equal. I mean, not quite like you. Who am I kidding? But that have a lot of evidence from the way that they've been treated, from the way they were fired, or from the way they were labeled to be perverts hiding in bushes taking photographs of people, and I mean, I am absolutely amazed at some of the stories I've heard about the way people were discredited and bullied and run out of this organization. And there are so many of us who have evidence, and we can put that forward, and I'm really looking forward to the time when that can be done collectively. And there will be absolutely no way, I mean, Jan Harzan won't respond because he can't respond. And the board of directors is clearly incompetent, very clearly. I've reached out to Dave McDonald when I was going through my stuff, no response. I reached out recently to John Schuessler, no response. And so they I'm not sure what they're thinking, but this controversy and your willingness to stand up will be the death nail in an organization that is clearly not operating for the best interests of the members or the public.
I hope the MUFON membership wakes up and starts demanding answers, and that's what I really want. They don't have to quit. They don't have to. They have to write letters. Remember, I'm talking about the members, current members now. Make them phone calls. Call headquarters. Make Jan Harzan answer those questions. Make those changes if they're needed. Okay, that can be done. Okay, if he hears from enough people and he starts realizing it's going to affect his money base, and then maybe that might do. When it comes to Chase and how she operates, kind of a weird thing. She's somewhat paranoid. It keeps the drama line going and these types of things. I don't know how many times she told me that Jan didn't trust her. I couldn't even count how many times we had to, I kept telling her, oh, why not? And she just continually said that. She didn't think Jan trusted her. Well, there must be a reason for that, something that she's picking up somewhere, maybe something how Jan's acting or saying something or something I don't even know about. But if that's the case, I don't understand why Jan has her back completely on everything. There could be some changes made that would help ufology in general and help MUFON in general. I'm not out to destroy MUFON. I want it to change a little bit, get its direction going the right way. You have a lot of people have done a lot of work, and a lot of them that's left MUFON that spent years and years doing a lot of work. It's all for nothing, in my opinion. In the end, when it gets to the top and where it's at, they don't care that much. You can be there 20 years. I know some people that's been with MUFON for quite some time. They started having problems and they left, and no one cared.
No.
You don't get that 20-year pin for being with MUFON. All we need is your $8 each month. So unfortunately, they just don't get the recognition they're supposed to.
And I couldn't agree more with you. And Ella in chat is saying that is very, very true. And that is the sad thing. And we'll talk more about that. I'm Erica Lukes here with Phil Leech. We've got our last break. Stick around. The best is yet to come. A few more bombshells. Catch you on the other side.
Stand by.
This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
With Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
We interrupt this program to annoy you and make things generally irritating.
At the end of the day, we turn the lights down in the KCOR studio.
Oh, sweet.
And crank up the hottest club songs from around the world.
This is the future.
The Grind, mixed by Tina Marie, your Vegas vixen of the high desert.
What about the body? What kind of body?
Good body. Nice body.
Every night from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Pacific. The best 3 hours of commercial-free music.
New music first.
It's time to stand up and dance your ass off. The Grind, nightly and exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Come on, it's kind of hot.
Alien Deceptions, a suspenseful sci-fi romance thriller by Tina Marie, featuring the tantalizing Erica Jones and the mysterious Russell Hamilton. An out-of-this-world book of fiction based on years of document facts and files the government does not want you to know about, at least not yet. Alien Deceptions by Tina Marie. Available now at Amazon.com or get a signed copy at TinaMarieEntertainment.com. Get your copy now.
30 seconds and counting.
Broadcasting to you from another planet, beaming you a world of entertainment.
This is the world-famous KCOR. Now listen live online at KCORradio.com.
I like everything about this station.
When do I listen? Like 24 hours a day.
It's my favorite station. I just love the music. It keeps me going at work.
There is a world outside that which we live in, a realm where fact and fiction collide. The Paradigm Matrix.
The Paradigm Matrix.
Hosted by Willie Miranda every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us, even now in this very room.
The 1 hour show that will surely leave you hanging on the edge of the rabbit hole.
The Paradigm Matrix
explores a universe of topics from UFOs, cryptozoology, conspiracies, as well as all things paranormal.
Enter a world of the twisted and deformed.
Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The Paradigm Matrix. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, where fact and fiction collide.
1, 2, 3, 4!
To the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
I love the way it sounds. Love the music. I listen all day.
The future of radio is here and now.
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back to another great night on UFO Classified. I must say that this is going to be one for the memory books, and 50 years from now when they're looking back and looking at organizations that didn't have the best intention, it's going to be a great one to highlight that fact. I am here with Phil Leech, who wrote a few weeks ago the first of 4 articles and exposés asking questions about the Mutual UFO Network that was started back in 1969. Over the decades, people have had similar complaints about the organization, and under each leader, the situations have been addressed the same way. They have been, the person coming forward has been discredited, and eventually MUFON continues, and then they find new people to take over, and eventually they learn the same lesson and are fired, and this seems to be the MUFON way. And I have to say that I really commend Phil Leech for coming forward. I've had countless emails and telephone calls about issues and people sending me things, and there are a lot of people with serious concerns. And I want to say this before we get into a tip and an implant and evidence collection and questionable backgrounds and things. I want to say that there have been allegations. I have received information from different sources that the Director of Investigations is using perhaps her husband's military background to threaten people. And this is something, according to someone that I spoke with at Homeland Security, is a very serious type of threat. And that I think that people need to be aware that is happening. People need to call this out and perhaps maybe reach out to the FBI or different law enforcement to report things like this. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So you can, anyway, so I am back here with Phil, and I'm sorry, Phil, thank you so much for being here. You did your last explosive story, which was very eloquent. You had to read between the lines on some of these things. But in your first expose, you talked about a tip and you talked about an implant. Can you explain to us the background on that?
Yeah, Chase had called me. She was kind of upset, actually, on the phone. She explained it to me that they had an abduction, and the person involved had a implant, and this implant had been removed, and MUFON was, in charge of this thing. She didn't give me great details about exactly how it played out, but supposedly they had an implant. And Chase was rather upset. Now, she was blaming it on Jan. I don't know if that's true. That might be that. I don't think anything happened without Jan and Chase both knowing when it comes to an implant. But that implant was given to that Luis Elizondo and a media company. I asked, why did it not go to a lab? Well, they couldn't find a lab that was could do the work that was needed with the implant. I found that very odd. Okay, hell, I could have found one in Indiana if I tried. They do ask. But they give this implant away. And she was upset because she said that she did not know where it was. And this is her telling me this in a phone conversation. And this is something else that if I have to show a document of the conversation, I will. That she was upset with Jan because he gave the implant away, and she didn't believe it was ever going to be seen again. I don't know if that's true. This is what she told me. It could very well be that they're just more fame and media coverage over this type of thing. I have a huge problem with anyone who is according to her, she's an evidence collection specialist, okay, or whatever wording you want to throw in there. That could be. She could, let's say that she's the best evidence collection person on the face of the planet. You do everything right, bag tag it, do all the paperwork, chain of custody, all these things that come along with that. When do you turn into a dumbass and just give it away? If you do all that fine work and just hand it over to basically people who worked for the government, the whole entire work, all those people left the government because they didn't, the government was lying and they were going to come forward with UFO information and this and that. Was Chase and Jan or any one of them that enamored with that particular group that they just, thought they walked on water, that we can just give them, MUFON been in business 50 years, get your hand on a possible implant or any other piece of evidence like that. Me personally, if I had to send it to Indiana College to get looked at in one of their labs using fancy equipment, I would be driving it there and staying with it and bringing it back home with me. Okay, I just wouldn't send it in the mail, or I wouldn't just give it to a carrier and let them take it. That's just so unprofessional. I don't even know what to think about that.
And so when Chase was doing the interview with Luis Elizondo, who was present at that interview?
Her husband, the military. He's a naval officer. It was her, Luis, and her husband was there. I think there were maybe a couple. I could be wrong. At least one, maybe a couple interviews, but he did attend that. I think he went to actually been involved with a few things when it comes to something important. I think he would either go with her or set in on it, or
like the board of directors meetings.
Yeah, I heard about that too. I have no evidence with that, but I heard about that. Yes, actually, I heard that he went on there and talked about classified projects that was actually still active and working. So I don't know that. I'm not making an accusation. That's something I was told. If that's the case, I suggest you quit now from doing that. I don't think that the military is going to care for this type of thing. I'm not even sure they would care him being associated with this type of with ufology in general, because like she says in one of her emails, nasty emails she sent to someone, they're looking at his security clearance and can't have stuff like this. Well, if I'm not wrong, Chase, you need to keep your mouth shut. And a lot of these things wouldn't be happening because I wouldn't have the information I have today if you'd have kept your mouth shut. So you're not just telling me, I'm sure you was telling other people too. So you need to just look at her.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and as we both know, I mean, you have tape recordings, email exchanges. Many other people have the same types of things where they've complained about this specific individual and sent letters to Jan and Roger and Steve Hudgens, but yet nothing has been done about it, and the problem only continues to get worse. And I mean, there are very serious legal implications when somebody is going behind someone's back to inhibit their livelihood or to slander them, and using somebody in the military, legally that's not a good place to be in. So again, we have to throw this to MUFON.
I think Chase has a problem. This could be easily solved. All she has to do is produce the paperwork, and she's not going to. Her evidence collection, I don't know how many times she told me she had an evidence kit that would make most police departments envious. Well, you can buy all you want on eBay. You have all the evidence kits you want. You can get a great one. Okay, just keep buying stuff, putting it in there, but knowing how to use it's another thing. I don't know this for a fact. I do know that she had some training when she was going to be a private investigator. And now, if she went to a college or a building to do that, or was an online thing, I'm not really sure about that. They both exist, okay? But some of that training, and when it comes to evidence collection, could have been easily got from being a private investigator getting that license. If that's the fact, that is not credentials enough to be saying what she's saying. I hope there's more to that. I really do. That would be rather depressing. No, I listened to one interview that was years ago that Chase was on there, and guy got her bio on there and says she's a NASA researcher. She didn't dispute that on the radio show. So, but she is no NASA researcher. I've read and heard and seen where it says that biomechanical engineer for the military. I want all your listeners to go on Google and type that in and see what that is, okay? It's not really hard to find out. It basically means you know how to use exercise equipment, and you're a gym teacher. It's a big term, it's a big term. I worked at a factory where I was in charge of 13 robots. I was considered a operator. Nice little title, didn't mean a damn thing. Okay. I hope I'm wrong with that. I really do. But your listeners can easily Google a lot of these things and figure some of this out for themselves and get their own answers.
Right. And I think that, when you've got an organization that is doing background checks on witnesses, then the head, the boards, the executive director should be doing background checks on the people that are representing the organization. That seems simple.
I would think. Yeah. I mean, one conversation I had with Mr. Harzan was talking about, he was rather aggravated about, I'm only mentioning what it was about, but he was rather aggravated. And this was some time ago before my letters. And he was talking about some members in MUFON, and he actually said that there's way too many law enforcement people in MUFON. And I said, well, Jan, you get some of your best reports out of law enforcement, any background in law enforcement. I don't care what you did in law enforcement. People are normally good investigators, and they write good reports, He goes, well, he just wished there wasn't so many law enforcement in MUFON, which was kind of shocking to me. I honestly think they don't want the truth. I don't think they want it. I don't think they want that. I just don't. They act like they do. I don't think it matters.
Honestly, I don't think it does either. And I think, especially with the Elaine Douglas files and Chase intercepting those files and laughing about it, and Jan Harzan blatantly lying to me about that and saying that they have a huge archive team and they're getting, they will get this information out to the public. Let's talk about the Leonard Stringfield files that are sitting in MUFON headquarters, and they've been promising year after year after year to some incredible archivists that they would make that information available. They haven't done it. They're just not, none of this is adding up, and it is looking pretty bad for an organization that relies on people to pay for membership and then go out and collect data and do the hard work, and then you get to have the data that is bought and sold only for the benefit of a handful of people.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, they don't have the resources. They don't. I mean, their secretary, nothing against all against the MUFON secretary. Okay, got no problems with her at all. She's the one that put posts on the MUFON Facebook site. Roger wouldn't do it. I mean, this is, if you get one person to say they'll do something, you got yourself a team. So make sure you're careful what you volunteer for. You could be doing a lot of work. They don't have the resources for all that. I mean, I had many conversations with Jan about, him needing this or needing that. He's looking for a director of research right now. If any of your listeners want to put in an application,
that sounds appealing.
If I knew anyone. Do what?
That sounds appealing, because you can volunteer for an organization and then be belittled and discredited behind your back, and Yeah.
Oh yeah,
a great plan.
You know, that's a job I don't think I'd take. I actually told him change the name of it. I said you might want to pick a different name other than director of research. That's kind of been burnt out. I don't think that'd play over too well. You know, they lost the good group of guys that left when the Robert Powell and the symposium thing, you know, occurred. They lost a great group of individuals, and that was basically their science base that left, unfortunately. So their motto about this, you know, the scientific approach to all this, I don't know. I think they're misrepresenting that to their membership to some extent. They don't have those capabilities. I think maybe their membership should start questioning that. Prove to me what you have. Put up or shut up time. Let's see it. You claim you can do this, claim you can do that, claim you can make good decisions. Let's see that happen. And I think they might get turned around if they can do some of this. But good luck.
I know. Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, I think all of us have had high hopes, and I think in our hearts, you know, we care about the people in the organization and care about the subject, and it deserves to be respected. And it is really alarming and shocking when good people are taken advantage of, and people have to wake up because we need to make change, and it has to be pretty quickly. I don't have hope for MUFON leadership. To be honest, I don't have hope for the MUFON board of directors, who clearly did the wrong thing with regard to you, firing you for asking important questions, and then keeping people in place that are probably should be investigated. What does that say? There's a long-term pattern here, and I would like to know why Chase or why Jan insists on protecting someone that has had many complaints leveled against her. So those are good questions.
There could be a few reasons. You know, money. Chase knows something. You know, there's plenty of people that can do a good job. So it's not an issue whether or not, you know, can she be replaced? Yes, you could find someone else to take that position, you know, if they had to. I don't know. There's a reason somewhere. You know, maybe Jan's just afraid to make those decisions. Hell, it took him 2 weeks to fire me, you know. So, and I don't think he did that until he probably got board approval. At least they agreed with it. I'm not approval, but they agreed with that. You know, they probably voted on it. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I'll never know. I really don't care. I knew how this was going to end for me when it come to me, you know, having anything to do with MUFON. It was worth it. You know, I got to deal with it. I really don't like all this, but it was worth it in the end because it was only going to get progressively worse as it went on, and I seen it, and I hope Jan and I hope everybody else sees it and starts asking those hard questions. That's the only way MUFON's going to change, is its membership needs to start asking those hard questions, and do not be afraid of getting fired. Hell, it took them 2 weeks to fire me, so don't even worry about it. Ask those questions.
Well, and understand, and I think that I can't stress this enough, that people need to know that just because others are leaders in the community or on the speaking circuit or on TV shows, that their backgrounds aren't necessarily accurate. And I think this has been the case. There have been a lot of people in ufology who've inflated or completely lied about their qualifications. And we need to look into this. And people that are representing this topic in a public sense, we need to have people with quality, with character, that are ethical, and that don't go to great lengths to discredit other people. And that's important. So MUFON, and they should step up to the plate. They won't. And that's unfortunate. No, they won't. But I mean, how do we, as people who care about this topic, you know, how are we going to move forward? I think that Morgan and Rich Hoffman and, Robert Powell, who I really respect Robert Powell a lot. He's been a great help to me. But I mean, they are organizing a great conference coming up here in March, and they're engaging this in a scientific way, and that's really commendable. And I'm happy that they can do that.
Oh, I'm glad to see them put that, team together. The SCU, that organization, they're doing well. I think they'll continue to do well, and they're respected. I think the respect will be there. That's what MUFON's going. In the end, the respect is something that MUFON's always going to have a problem with, only because of all these problems that exist, and they continue not to make change or do the right thing. So in the end, after 50 years, if you had to ask what MUFON's accomplished, I say they pretty much destroyed their own, reputation. So, at least in the ufology field, and keep in mind, ufology is a very tiny place, okay? But it's still, in the ufology field, had way too many problems, especially in the last couple of years. It just wasn't handled properly, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think everybody has to work together. That's why I try to get SCU and MUFON. I talked to Dan about that. Sorry, Robert Powell, I did try. He knew nothing. Robert didn't know anything about it, but I was trying to make all this work in some way.
And what was your immediate response from MUFON about that?
Oh, hell no. That wasn't happening.
And who specifically
I didn't
said
even
that?
mention this. Oh, yeah.
I mean, who was it? Who was it that said that?
Jan. Yeah, too many MUFON haters in SCU. He wouldn't have any part of it. He didn't like that idea whatsoever. And I had just gotten, Fran Ridge with NICAP. He's a great guy. Okay, smart, intelligent, good organization. I got MUFON and NICAP working together. Fran was so happy with that because it never happened before. There was nothing, so I came up with it. I actually came up with this idea because I knew it was something that Fran was doing. I seen an opening for MUFON for both sides to benefit, with the debate database that NICAP has. It's just massive. And I set all this up and it's working. And I thought the same thing. Okay, how many groups can we get working together towards a common goal? I was able to get the NICAP thing going. That's about as far as that was going to go. Fran, good, great guy. I'm glad it's working out. He's a friend of mine. We do talk every now and again. Talked recently, actually. So I tried. I looked at the bigger picture outside of all the issues that MUFON has. How do we keep getting better with MUFON? Everything I did, I tried to make better, or tried to improve, kind of like a problem solver, how do we keep getting better? I had plenty of ideas. And some of them worked, and most of them was shot down.
But you've tried, and you tried.
I tried. I did try.
You did, and you did the right thing. You did it behind, closed doors, and tried to ask these people when changes would be made. You got nothing. And eventually, you have no choice when you really care about a subject and you see things going on that are not in the best interest of the people who are putting forth all of this work and the public in general. There are ways you have to go about it to make change, and I will commend you. You have been one of the bright spots and, in my opinion, a true hero. And even with your incredible UFO case, that I will put that out there, in the years you worked on one case, one of the most important cases I've seen in a long, long time. You've had the courage to step up and to do the right thing. It's not easy. And I look forward to the day when perhaps more information can be released so people will really, really see the behind the scenes workings and the levels to which some of these people will stoop to get positions of authority.
Yeah, it won't be a good day. It would be for me, probably. It wouldn't be a good day, though, because, what I released in my letters was statements that I was making. Anything else will be actual documentation. It'd be hard to get away from that. So I hope it doesn't come to that. I guess it kind of lays in their laps, if they want to make some changes. But if someone gets silly and starts saying the wrong, doing the wrong thing, maybe it's going to have to come to that. I don't know.
Or hiring teams of lawyers and we'll see what happens. And I I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about this and being willing to stand up. And I am sure that you've completed this series of articles. You've done 4, but
a segment.
A
segment.
Right, a segment. Yeah. There is probably more to come. So this is good. Thank you for making positive and productive change and bringing good information out and creating a dialogue where we can all address issues that need to be addressed instead of just swept under the rug. I know a lot of people, ufology has been a complete circus because nobody wants to step up and change. So thank you, Phil Leech. I'm Erica Lukes here with UFO Classified. Stick around for a great night on KCOR. You can go to UFOclassified.com to read all of Phil's articles and get new information. Have a wonderful night and stick around for Willie Miranda, who will be up now.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcast